Good evening, I'm Michael and you're watching Kini News. Pasir Salak MP Tajuddin Rahman is no stranger to causing controversy in Parliament, and today he may have taken it to another level. Pasir Salak MP Tajuddin Rahman mocked Jelutong MP RSN Rayer in Dewan Rakyat today by asking him if the sacred ash applied on his forehead was former Communist Party of Malaya leader Chin Peng's ashes.
Sila duduk.
Saya nak tumpang tanya, kita mau Abu Chin Peng apa?
Semua duduk. Kita mau anak-anak kita belajar perkara-perkara yang baik. Belajar daripada pemimpin-pemimpin yang baik.
Saya lagi dalam mahkamah, apa pasal? Ingat kamu hakim ke Jelutong? Saya tak mau Jelutong dituduh pakai Abu Chin Peng kedai itu.
Realizing what Tajuddin had said, Rayer immediately stood up to demand a retraction.
Speaker, ini adalah menghina orang-orang Hindu. Saya minta maaf, Pasir Salak minta maaf kerana beliau menghina orang-orang Hindu di Malaysia.
Orang Hindu banyak sahabat baik saya, bukan macam Jelutong.
No, you are insulting the Hindus in the country. Yang Mohamad, Pasir Salak, saya minta tarik balik kenyataan itu. Kerana Yang Mohamad dari Barisan Nasional telah menghina orang Hindu.
Menghina orang Hindu.
You withdraw that. I ask you to withdraw it.
Menghina orang Hindu.
Yang Mohamad, Pasir Salak tarik balik kenyataan itu.
However, Tajuddin said he didn't imply Rayer had used Chin Peng's ashes, but was only asking whether he had.
Saya nak tanya, apa maksud menghina?
Kerana Yang Mohamad mengatakan bahawa saya memakai abu orang Chin Peng di dahi saya.
Bukan.
You said that. You said it. That's why I said you insulted the Hindus in this country.
Yang you pakai tu Abu Chin Peng ke tidak?
Tajuddin was heard retracting his initial remark. Chin Peng was born in Setiawan Perak in 1924. He had resided in Thailand since the peace accord was signed. On November 26, issues involving CPM came under the spotlight after it was reported that Chin Peng, who had died in 2013, had his ashes repatriated to Malaysia on September 16. The return of his ashes has since elicited criticism from various quarters, and the police have started an investigation into the matter. If you expected things to end there, it didn't. Eventually, 2 lawmakers were suspended. Following an outcry over Chin Peng's ashes in the Dewan Rakyat today, Speaker Mohamad suspended 2 lawmakers. They are Harapan's Kota Melaka MP, Ku Poi Thiong, and BN's Pasir Salak MP, Tajuddin Rahman. This came after the Speaker said he had heard enough and ordered all MPs to sit down.
Saya tahu, ruling sudah pun dibuat, sila duduk.
Tidak boleh sekadar tarik balik saja, Tan Sri.
Ini sudah keterlaluan ya.
Tan Sri.
Kota Melaka, Pasir Salak, saya arahkan keluar.
Tan Sri.
Kota Melaka, Pasir Salak, sila keluar. What do you want? Tempoh 1 hari. Bentara. Kalau dia keluar. Saya nak dengar apa ni? Datuk Speaker suruh keluar ni apa pasal? Apa pasal? Saya tak dengar. Mengganggu mesyuarat. Perangai ya. Yang mengganggu mesyuarat.
Tan Sri.
Speaker. Ramai yang
Tan
mengganggu.
Sri, Speaker.
For most of my schooling years, Dr. Mahathir was Prime Minister. Now I'm doing this and he's still Prime Minister. But we may not see such long-serving Prime Ministers in the future. Dr. Mahathir Mohamad served 5 full terms as Prime Minister from 1981 to 2003, and currently he's 19 months into his 6th term. Today he was asked whether the impeding constitutional amendment bill to prevent a lawmaker from serving more than 2 terms as Prime Minister can be applied retroactively.
Any thoughts about that on your side?
I am 94 years old. You want me to be Prime Minister at 100?
The federal government will table a bill to amend Article 43(2)(a) of the Federal Constitution by inserting a new provision, which stipulates that the candidate has not at any time held the office of Prime Minister for 2 terms of Parliament. As this is a constitutional amendment bill, the federal government will need the support of 2/3 of the members of Parliament. Najib's criminal trial involving the alleged misappropriation of funds from SRC International enters its 59th day today at the High Court in Kuala Lumpur. Did former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak know Jolo? If you're wondering, today is your lucky day. It was the first day Najib testified from the witness stand after being called to enter his defence. This was also the first time a former Malaysian Prime Minister has testified as a witness in a trial. Najib admitted in court that he had known 1MDB-linked businessperson Joe Low, and he believed that the man could have eased Malaysia's investment dealings in the Middle East. Testifying in the High Court in Kuala Lumpur in his SRC International Criminal Trial, Najib said Joe Low had presented himself as someone who was influential in the Middle East. In answering a question from defence lawyer Muhammad Shafi Abdullah if Joe Low had any role in 1MDB after the company had been taken over by the federal government, Najib said Low had been there since the company was first set up as the Terengganu Investment Authority, TIA, in 2009. Najib said Joe Low was then the advisor to Terengganu ruler Sultan Mizan Zainal Abidin in TIA. Sultan Mizan was also the Yang di-Pertuan Agong at the time.
How much do you pay for your road tax every year? 90 ringgit? 1,000 ringgit? Any of you pay 35,000 ringgit a year on road tax?
Former Deputy Prime Minister Ahmed Zayat Hamidi paid 35,726 ringgit a year for his vehicle's road tax, most of which were registered under his name. This was revealed by Putrajaya Road Transport Department Assistant Director Zaharuddin Zainuddin in his written statement during the 6th day of the trial related to Yayasan Akal Buri's criminal breach of trust. The vehicles, most of which were luxury vehicles, consisted of 11 cars, multi-purpose vehicles and sport utility vehicles, as well as 9 luxury and small-capacity engine motorcycles. Almost all of these vehicles were registered with the number 38.
Tattoos were a big topic this week, not so much for the tattoos itself, but for too much skin exposure. The organisers have come forward.
As the Tourism, Arts and Culture Ministry probes the Malaysian Tattoo Expo 2019, following viral videos from the event where models were almost naked, blackout trading, the organizer of the event has come forward to apologize. Its founder, known as Carlos Benny, said the incident was unintentional and said that the Tourism Ministry and the Malaysian Convention and Exhibition Bureau should not be blamed for the incident. He profusely apologized to all parties, including the members of the public, from the event hiccup. Carlos said the organizer had obtained the support from ISEB, but admitted that they failed to provide full disclosure of the activities during the event. He also noted that tattoo expos have been held in Sabah in previous years without untoward incidents. Meanwhile, when met by reporters today, Federal Territories Mufti Zulkifli Mohamad Al-Bakri said event organisers should take into account the diverse sensitivities of the Malaysian people.
Dan saya mohon kepada semua pihak agar perkara seperti ini tidak berlaku lagi selepas daripada ini. Semua perlu mengambil kecaknaan dan keprihatinan dan juga merasakan untuk menjaga sesama masyarakat Malaysia tentang keharmonian dan juga emosi masing-masing.
Coming up next, climate change, act now or surrender. Which will we choose? Facing the worst drought in more than a century, one man is using science and spirituality to find water. It's the end of the year, plus Christmas is coming, so you may be in the mood for some spending. But wait, Pope Francis has a message for you. That and more after this. Choose hope or surrender in the fight against climate change. What would you choose?
A group of some 20 protesters briefly blocked a road on Monday outside the venue where a United Nations summit on climate change was taking place in Madrid. Inside, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres told the COP25 climate summit that the world must choose hope over surrender in the fight against climate change.
And so my strong appeal to political leaders here today is please do lead, do not follow. Because societies are moving, business communities are moving, local authorities are moving, the youth is moving. It is for political leaders to be able to take profit of this movement and to lead for us to be able to defeat climate change.
It was a message echoed by the Speaker of the US House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, who pledged the country's commitment to the cause.
For future generations. This is a mission, this is a passion, this is a scientifically based approach to all of it. Excuse me. And we're here to say to all of you, on behalf of the House of Representatives and the Congress of the United States, we're still in it.
2 weeks of talks aimed at bolstering the 2015 Paris Agreement to curb global warming began against a backdrop of unusually severe weather disasters this year, from the fires in the Arctic, Amazon and Australia to intense tropical hurricanes. Scientists say the existing pledges made under the Paris Accord fall short of the kind of action needed to avert the most disastrous consequences of global warming. Delegates are hoping to use the summit, which wraps up on December 13, to inject fresh momentum into the process.
The residents of Graaff-Reinet are grappling with their worst drought in more than a century.
South Africa's Karoo region has always been parched. Karoo means land of thirst in the language of its earliest inhabitants, the Khoisan hunter-gatherers. Yet nothing prepared residents of its oldest colonial town, Graaff-Reinet, for their worst drought in more than a century. Gideon Groenewald, a geohydrologist, uses a mix of science and spirituality in search of groundwater.
In the Karoo of South Africa, and I suppose in all the semi-desert areas of the world, God provides drinking water and keeps it in two ways. One is in the clouds and one is underground. If we cannot locate these crack zones on Earth, we will never know where to dig for water.
But with the dry spell in its fourth year, the situation is desperate. Thousands of dead fish lie on cracked earth deposited by a receding dam, and farmers' animals are dying in their hundreds. More than a third of Jerry Snyman's livestock have died or have been sold this year.
It's had a hell of an impact on us, and as you can see, the sheep and Goro goats is dying.
The impact is widespread, and while the water that NGOs like Gift of the Givers hand out is welcome, it's not enough. Valencia Esco, an unemployed mother of 7 in the township of Umazi Sake, doesn't have water to flush the toilet, can't wash clothes, and only rinses plates that stink. Community members say the only thing they can do now is pray for rain.
Pope Francis on Sunday urged people to resist the excesses of consumerism in the period leading up to Christmas, calling it a virus that attacks faith and offends the needy.
Black Friday traditionally rings in the Christmas shopping season, but this year the Vatican condemned the spending frenzy in stark terms, calling consumerism a virus.
Dear brothers and sisters, consumerism is a virus that affects the faith at its root, because it makes you believe that life depends only on what you have. When you live for things, things are never enough. Greed grows and other people become obstacles in a race, and so one ends up feeling threatened and always dissatisfied and angry. The level of hatred rises.
At a Mass in Rome on Sunday, Pope Francis called on the faithful to resist the blinding lights of consumerism, which will shine everywhere this month, leading up to Christmas. Black Friday and Cyber Monday are the biggest shopping days of the year in the US and a growing number of countries in Europe. According to CNBC, Friday saw $7.4 billion in online sales, up nearly 20% from last year.
And here are some other news highlights from today. That is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'm Michael. Thank you for watching.